Well, it's typical Monday, so typical Monday farming. So, uh, so a new program Jason was telling me about. You're going to do this every Monday
Well,
night, I hear. Typical Monday.
yes,
So
we're
again,
going to be talking about
typical
the Badger
Monday
State Tractor
farming.
Pullers, a
So,
show just for them.
so okay. So a new pro.
So we started off with Greg last week. I don't know if you got a chance to see. We kind of went over all the new stuff with the Badger State Tractor Pullers, their new classes and new vehicles, and of course a lot of new events for the
Yep.
upcoming season. Busy schedule, and
Right.
we want to
Yep.
kind of get a little bit different perspectives. And of course, you've been around, with the Badger State Tractor Pullers probably just as long as anyone, and of course you've got a probably pulling and now a sled operator.
Yep. Yep. Well, I guess uh, where do you want to start? What do you want to talk about?
Let's kind of maybe for those that maybe don't know your background, maybe give a little bit background of maybe how you got into polling, and we'll start there.
Sure. Sure. I'll make it kind of quick, and if you have any questions, just ask me. But I grew up in a pulling family. My dad and my brother started pulling, long before I did. I actually started pulling when I was 14, driving a Ford tractor at the Walworth County Fair. Skipped out of school, of course, because that was the first day of school, and that's where I started. But my dad and my brother had a case tractor that they pulled. Um, a single turbo pro stock back in the day, and then my late brother Tim, kind of pushed that tractor along, and we lost him. When he was much too young. There was a story on A&E not just about a month ago about that whole deal, and Jason had a bunch of that info posted on his website. But then my other brother George and myself and my dad, we kept pulling that tractor throughout the years, and we joined Badger State mid-'90s, and we actually pulled Super Farm the first year of Badger State, and then switched over to Pro Stock, and we last pulled in '02 with the tractor, and we still have it, still have the chassis sitting here. Every day a lot of days I get the itch to go look at it and think about getting it back out, but I put that thought away for a while. But so anyway, yeah, I pulled for many years, and then quit, parked the tractor in '02, and then I went and ran the yellow sled for Jim Lutke and his family from '07 through 2013, and that gives you a totally different perspective of tractor pulling when you're sitting on that sled. And then Jim sold that yellow sled in 2013, and he built another one. But then I went and worked for Badger State as a tech guy, help with the teching and running the pulls and things like that. So I've kind of seen all sides of tractor pulling. And last year I was lucky enough to get on and drive the Wally Weezy's, the late Wally's Viagra King, and got to drive that quite a bit. And that was an honor and a thrill and a lot of excitement. If anybody ever met Wally Weezy, you know the whole story there, and that was an honor, to get on and drive that tractor. So, anyway, I've been connected to Badger State quite a bit, obviously, and working with Jim Lutke all those years, he sent me to a lot of places to do a lot of pulls, and one thing that really impressed me about Badger State was I would pull into an event in another state, and not knowing any of the competitors, I would ask, what do we have here for equipment? And those pullers would they'd come and compare themselves to Badger State. They'd come up and say, well, we're 15 feet behind Badger State tractors. And that kind of gives you a feeling of how good Badger State is and how well they're known and how well they're respected. That other organizations in other states, they base themselves off of how do they compete up against Badger State. And that was kind of cool. It's kind of exciting. And it helped a lot too. It helped me to do the show, that I knew I wasn't setting a sled for, Dwayne or Dustin Hook. I was setting it 15 feet behind them. So anyway, Badger State has come a long ways from their inception, and just in the last 10 years how much they've grown, and the new classes and the new pullers. There's so many members now. The first banquet I went to, we could all fit in one room, and a small
Sure.
room off the bar. And now the banquet is, it's huge. We've outgrown so many banquet halls that Badger State's growing, and I think they're headed in the right direction.
Yeah, that's definitely what we talked about with Greg last week, and I've gotten to see Badger State from the '90s, and just over the last 10 years. I mean, they got to be one of the fastest growing, if not the fastest growing organization from where they started to where they are now, and where they are in the national stage as well. I mean, if you go to national polls, they are kind of a benchmark, like you were talking about, of where competitors are sizing themselves up with either trucks or tractors.
Right, and I'm guessing there's a lot of pullers that pull in Badger State don't realize that that the other organizations they use us for benchmarking a lot of things, for equipment and how the show is run, how the show is promoted. You go. I'm not a board member at Badger State, but Greg has always invited me to come along to the fair convention, and I had gone many years with Jim Lutke, and that's where you book a lot of the events, and the number of people who inquire about trying to do a Badger State poll, right there when you're at that convention is phenomenal. And I know for a fact there's a group that books a Badger State poll every year just so they can come to the banquet at the end of the year, because all the promoters get to come,
Yep.
and anyone who runs a poll gets to come to the banquet. But being at the fair convention really makes you feel good. I mean, it really does. To walk around there with your Badger State shirt on, and it does make you feel proud to be part of the organization.
Yeah, I mean, I think the schedule kind of speaks for itself in terms of how many events or different types of events, from county fairs to just local events that are put on yearly that want a Badger State show. When you're over 30 events for a summer, I think that speaks for itself.
Yeah, and it's to the point where, Greg is, basically turning polls away.
Yeah.
When I started pulling with Badger State, it was 4th of July, and it was Labor Day, and it was some Sundays, and we've grown to the point where we don't have to do those. Guys didn't like traveling on those holidays, and you wanted to spend more time with the family, and you look at the old schedule, and half the polls were in 1 week, basically. It was that famous Wednesday night Jefferson, and Thursday night Union Grove, and Friday night Wheaton, Illinois, and Saturday was Dubuque, Iowa, and then there was one on Sunday on the way home, and the joke was then you could stop at the divorce lawyer on Monday morning when you did get home. But, everything was compacted, and in those days there was 3 classes, Pro Stock, Super Farm, and the Natural Aspirated, and everybody pulled twice. And, now there's, like you said before, there's so many members, at any given poll. There's so many competitors, and it's fun. It's really fun being part of Badger State.
Yeah, when you quadruple your class size too, I think they're at 11 or 12 now, and the
Right.
classes they offer, and
Yep.
the top-notch competitors, any night, and I think I heard this multiple times that it's probably, if you win like the Badger State versus maybe some of the national organizations, you probably deserve a little bit more. Deserve a little bit more than what they actually ran, because of especially with some of the classes had 20-some hooks in a season.
Right.
That's a pretty good toll, and the driving, and we're pretty much at every corner of the state, pretty much south of Wausau.
Well, and Wisconsin and Illinois and Iowa and Minnesota.
Yes.
So now what? Now we got to change our. Now we're going to be called the Big Ten here pretty soon, or what?
Pretty much.
Right? Get Jason working on that.
Yeah, I'm sure he could come up with some type of name for that. He's not
sure
short of ideas there.
No. So what else do you want to hear? I mean, you want to go through some events? You want to?
Sure.
I can talk an hour on just running a sled. I mean, I can talk 2 days on just running a sled.
Oh, I'm sure. And
I mean, you know, and I guess I've been asked 1,000 times, how the hell did you get hooked in to running the sled? And it actually started, I think it was 1988. It was at Elkhorn at the Badger Nationals, and the yellow sled, and didn't have a cab at that time, but it had a buddy seat. And so Jim Lutke's running the yellow sled. It's an NTPA event. There's a lot of equipment there, and then he'd have somebody riding on the buddy seat during the truck class and things like that. So I was being a smart ass. I walked over and I said, tonight when you run those unlimited mods, I want to sit in that buddy seat. And he said, if you're crazy enough to do that, you come over and do that. And so I did. And the first damn tractor they bring out there is Engler, when he had 7 Chevys on there. You know, and they parked it, you know, they started with 2 engines, and then they bring it out to the track side and start the other 5. Well, I could reach out and touch the tractor. That's how close he was to the sled. So now he gets all 7 engines running, hooks the sled, and I guarantee it's still one of the fastest trips Lutke's ever made. And we're out there at probably 400 feet, and I looked over at Jim, and I'm still hanging on for dear life, thinking we just went for a ride, you know. And I look over at Jim, and he's got the biggest smile on his face you've ever seen in your life. So we back up to the start line. He puts more weight in, but that's, you know, that was a deal I'll never forget. But then I was out of pulling, hadn't been to a tractor pull in probably 3 years, and I ran in. I was actually driving by Jim's shop one day, and I stopped in, and he said, "What are you doing this weekend?" He says, "We got a tractor pull. Come up here." And so I did. Didn't know what I was getting into, but he had me get on the sled and run it some that night. And then afterwards he said, "I'm building another sled, and I want you to run the yellow sled." And then it turned into 7 years of a whole lot of fun. And then 2010, I was in a car accident and kind of ruined my right shoulder, and it made it hell to run the sled. And, you know, it's kind of a rough ride some nights sitting on the sled. And then it kind of all fell together that 2013 I got Sled of the Year award from Badger State. And then Jim had an opportunity to sell that yellow sled to Josh Jacobs, and it kind of all worked out good, you know, and that was it. That was, I ended my sled running right then, on a high note. And then, I don't know how familiar you are and some of the fans are with Jim Lutke, but he got real sick last fall.
I was gonna ask you if you got a chance to talk to him and get an update.
Yep. I think it's a miracle. I mean, he is improving, and I talked to him again last week, and when he was sick last winter, a family called and asked if I would come and run the white sled for him, and because it was looking pretty dire at that point. And so I said yes, you know, that I would help him out, and however I could. Well, it started out I'd have to run it at probably 40 events, and now when I talked to him last week, he's pretty certain that he will be at every pull next year.
Wow.
That he plans on running it. But he's looking good. He's doing good. He's doing his physical therapy every day, and it's remarkable. If you could have, you know, I went to see him in the hospital and said goodbye to him one night because I was convinced we wouldn't see morning, and just to have him around is a blessing, and I'm just excited that he's still here, obviously. But so anyway, the way it looks right now, he's going to run it, and you know, and I said, you know, you get into some of those long summer weeks, if you need help, obviously I'm there. But he's doing good and planning on running, you know, the 2 sleds full schedule again this year. And so if that's the case, I'm actually looking forward to a pretty quiet summer. I've got five wedding invitations sitting here, and some other family gatherings, and I plan on hitting all of those.
Sure.
So,
that makes it it's a win-win situation, obviously, with Jim getting better, and then of course you get a good chance to maybe actually have a relaxing summer. And, how many polls do you think you'll hit this summer? Then, like, are you going to be a tech official at some of the polls this summer?
Right now I'm not, because Kelly Elsing
Oh,
takes
sure.
care of the scheduling, and and I
With the
said to her
sled
right away,
situation.
hey, yeah, I'm going to help out Jim, and not a problem. And so, and my 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 son-in-law is John Coots,
Okay.
pulls the Digging Deer,
Yep.
and so I'm actually looking forward to just going to some pulls, some of those weeknights and things with John, and to go along as a father-in-law instead of a sled operator or a tech official, and I can just go along as a father-in-law and be the token father-in-law, and take the cooler of beer and be that guy.
Yes.
So I'm actually looking forward to that kind of a summer. So some of those.
Allison just commented that she said that they might have actually booked more than last year in terms of hooks that they have for the sleds.
Well, good for them. Well, and the other thing the thing that I noticed when I was running the yellow sled, I noticed that there's at that time already back in '07 and '8, '9, '10, there were more and more weeknight events because
Yes.
because you're running out of
There's only so many weekends.
promoters,
Yeah.
right? And you're running out of sleds, and you're running out of organizations to run pulls, and it seems like there's more and more Wednesday and Thursday night pulls, and I believe it's easier to get a tractor pulling crowd at a fairgrounds on a Wednesday night, than to bring in a country show or something like
Sure,
that.
and you're not really competing against a whole lot for pulling crowd really during the week
Right.
as well. So I think that's what made Jefferson so successful throughout the years. I mean, I think it's a big pulling community to start with, but that has definitely
Right.
been a
Right.
factor.
Right. So, well, good. And in Badger State, I see that on the schedule. I think there's a Wednesday night in Beaver Dam now.
Yeah, they got the
that's
Dodge
new.
County Fair this year.
Yep.
So
And
that's
Elkhorn
a
is
huge fair for them, for the Badger State Tractor
Right.
Pullers, especially
Yep.
for a long
Yep.
time with the WTPA and NTPA events there and then now. Getting
Right.
in there with the Badger State, I think that just shows, like we were talking about earlier, just for that big of a county, that's probably one of the bigger counties. Union Grove, they've been there for many years as well with the Racine County Fair. But Dodge County Fair, the history with polling as well, and then of course the Walworth County Fair for many years, filling in after NTPA left.
Yep. And then I believe this year they're back at Sheboygan County Fair in Plymouth. Yep.
Yeah, so the
I think-
Eastern, so they kind of, I think there was a scheduling conflict last year. That's why they didn't make it back to Plymouth. But so and that was a really fun fair, a very good crowd last year, and I don't think they with the Badger State, that definitely brings in a whole new set of vehicles for that fan base, and that's just great to see on that eastern side of the state.
Yep. Right. And Dodge County, they seem to draw people. It's a good area to draw people from, and one trick at that pulling on that track is keeping the track in good condition. That track tends to get hard because of the clay that's there. It's a racetrack, and I know last winter when that was discussed, and Jim was back on his feet already, and I called him, in fact, and I said, well, they want to run two tracks there. And he says, we'll make it happen. We'll make room in a track like that if you can keep enough moisture. If you get enough moisture in that track early, the day before or 2 days before, that'll stop it from getting so hard. So, and that's a whole other ball of wax there. Is track preparation and getting some of these tracks prepared days in advance versus hours in advance, and keeping them. I think Badger State does a pretty good job there, keeping enough equipment there to keep that track together during the show. But you get limited pros and pro stocks at the same event. You need a lot of equipment to keep that track together.
Yeah, now you add in the light pros over the last couple of years as well. They're right up there in the horsepower range as well.
Right. So now you get 20 or 25 of those vehicles competing at that event. I mean, it takes more equipment to put that track back together. Super farms, yes, to a point, but they don't have the wheel speed that, like especially the light pros and the limited pros. I mean, those guys are, creating quite the wheel speed, and to be able to put that back together so that you have so that entire class is competitive, so the finish doesn't come down to the pull order, and you luck out to be the first guy. You never like to see that, whether you're the tech guy, whether you're the sled operator or a puller, you never like to see that. And Sitting on a sled, you could see the track, and you could feel that track change in between every competitor. And if you stay on top of it, keep that equipment moving, and keep that track constant, so it's fair for everybody, it makes a huge difference. And getting around to enough polls that I did for Jim, Badger State does a pretty good job of preparing and maintaining the tracks. I mean, they really do.
Yeah, you can tell. I mean, which between the organizations and the events, who knows, what they're kind of doing when it comes to track prep, and you can just tell by the sled if you're bouncing in your seat and almost in the top of the cab going down the track.
Right. Oh,
yeah,
right. Right.
You can tell
and,
if there's been track prep, for days, or if it's been just maybe a couple hours before showtime.
Right. Yeah, and that's huge. And more, I think more and more promoters and fairs are learning that that's a big part of it. You got to be ahead of the curve there.
Especially if they want to put on a great show in terms of letting the tractors be able to get hooked up, and then get those for those good distances and speeds that fans like to see, and of course be able to stop them within a reasonable distance as well.
Right. But on the other hand too, if you have 90 hooks, you got to keep them moving.
Yes,
the people are only going to sit in that grandstand so long. So
and the fairs want them out of there, at a certain time to get them back into the carnival area as well.
Yep.
And that's definitely Badger State is definitely, I think and that's why they've continued growing with the county fairs. We see them. I don't know how many county fairs they're at this year. It's just amazing how many county fairs they're at throughout Wisconsin. Pretty much from Lake Michigan, and now with the addition of the Vernon County Fair, they actually had the first county fair and the last county fair of the year this year. So
sure, yep, sure. Well, yeah, it's good. I mean, it's something to be part of. And Badger State helped me get to where I'm at in the tractor pulling world. Wherever that is, I'm not sure where I'm at, but Badger State helped me get there. And when Greg asked me to come and help do some teching and help at pulls and stuff, I felt obliged. I felt it's something I needed to do, give back to the organization. And when Jason called me last week and asked me to do this here tonight, absolutely. Anytime I can give something back to Badger State, I'm happy to do it. Badger State helped me get to where I'm at, right now. So
we have a comment from Jeff Capinos. He says that you're the man, the myth, and the legend.
Yeah. Jeff's a good Jeff Capinos. He's there's an organization, NEW, Northeast Wisconsin Pullers, and Jeff's a big part of that. And when I first started running the sled, they were relatively new, and it was fun to watch them grow. I mean, I did a lot of their pulls and helped them out as much as I could, and it was good to see them grow. And they've got hot farm and like an 18-mile-an-hour too hot to farm class, and they've got gas truck or super stocks mods and diesel trucks. A nice organization up there, and Jeff's a big part of it. And they kind of cover the northeast part of the state, and I guess Badger State covers the rest. So.
Yeah, but, pretty much the way the schedule looks, it's starting to look that way, and
those guys, a group of those guys will come pull Badger State when they don't have a pull. You'll see a handful of those hot farm guys come down to Badger State and pull, and Jeff Campanos and Lance Merton and Todd Koss and a handful of those other guys come down and pull with Badger State. And I think I've talked to them a bit about it, and it's they want to come and compete in another organization once in a while too, and it's good to see them. So
yeah, especially Lance Mertens is a good example out of the Northeast there. I mean, he's really come on strong with his tractor the last couple of years. He was, you'd come down and support some of the polls, and you could tell, he was still, working on his equipment. But now the last couple of years, he's been right in the top 5 or so in that very tough class.
Right. And I see he had a hell of a week there in Gordy.
Oh my God! I don't know how many different classes he ran in. And,
he had a hell of a season in one weekend.
Yeah, pretty much. So, some people that's a season right there.
Yeah. But
no, it's good to see different vehicles from different parts of the state, getting success as well.
Right. Yeah.
And then, of course, Badger State has just continued to grow up in that northeast corner as well with, Mackville and now with the Sheboygan County Fair. And, going down to the many years at the Racine County Fair, now adding the Dodge County Fair. So it just continues to grow in that part of the state where, for the longest time it's kind of just in south central Wisconsin and, of course, northern Illinois as well. And now we added DeWitt, Iowa, and the diesel trucks will be heading out to Worthington, Minnesota. And so it's quite the distance.
The early days in Badger State, it seemed like they had a pull. Their pull would be wherever one of their members lived or wherever one of their members' hometown was, and it's still true to a point. But so many of these Badger State polls now they've got a competitor from almost every class that lives in that community. So when there's a poll, like in Jefferson, I think there's somebody in Jefferson County that polls in every class in Badger State. So they want, now you got guys that want all the classes there. And it happens other places too. And you get over to Darlington, I guarantee you there's somebody from every class there. I think that, I think they run them all. But, and then some of these polls have kind of taken on a life of their own. When you look at, Darlington, they're kind of in their own world. That's just a fun place over there.
You can just say Darlington, everyone knows, what it is. So it's one of those polls that you can just say Darlington.
And then, the Greene County Fall Nationals, they're in their own world. But, one night at Darlington on that nice hard track they got down there, Terry Blackburn brought their V8 alcohol super over there to make a test run that night, and I think I had Jim's red sled I was running that night, and I think I was 37 miles an hour, and that was the fastest I had ever gone on the red sled. And then one night Terry Blackburn brought one of those tractors over to Lancaster. We were over there for Badger State poll, and I had the yellow sled there, and I think we were 35 or something like that. But those are fun when you get those tractors or the pro stocks hooked to that sled and they set you back in the seat. That is, that's fun.
When you're moving 40, 50,000, 60,000 pounds and you're going 37 miles an hour, you're hooked up there. And it's to try to explain that to people, now the sleds have cabs, so now you can have somebody come in the cab and ride with you until they actually get in there for like a pro stock or those alcohol tractors. It's something. If you've never been in one, you want to get in a sled and take a ride with either, like I say, the limited pros too. I mean, they're coming. They're not far behind the pro stock. No, but even now with the light pros, with how light they are and the wheel speed they get, and you can get, if depending on the track conditions, they can go for a little bit of a wild ride there, for you too.
That's I think that's going to be quite the class, as it grows. Is that light pro?
Yeah, it's definitely become one of my favorite classes to watch, and between the wheel speed and that you just got that unique sound because it's such small cubes, but you got that huge turbo on them, and they just have a unique sound to them as well. Jeff Mailing wants to know when you're going to bring the Lonesome Loser out. I know you kind of touched on that in the beginning, but how you look at it every day. But
I'm going to do it 15 minutes after I cash in my Powerball ticket. How's that? 15 minutes after I win Powerball, that's when we're going to go back tractor pulling.
Yeah.
Okay?
There you go. So we'll have them chip in on that ticket for you. Maybe bring you a little bit extra luck.
Yeah. Well, no, it's not that I don't want to. That's for sure. And Carl Kahn letting me drive the Black Viagra King last year was, that
was
really
probably such an emotional,
Yep, being able to cover for Wally, so to speak, is something. And in all the years of tractor pulling, I got my very first victory at Badger State on Wally's tractor. So that was exciting. So
yeah, that tractor, is so well known across with the Badger State, and of course even across the country, really, because when they would go, to some of the bigger PPL events, and even Louisville. Did he get a pull in Louisville at all?
Not that I don't believe so. No.
But
no.
Gordyville definitely.
Gordyville.
But of course,
Gordyville.
Gordyville really.
Yep.
I think the first year that it was there, I mean, people just went crazy over, because it was just a unique tractor, and of course the title itself,
Yeah. And anybody who knew Wally, boy, that was Wally was one of a kind. So.
Yeah.
So what else do you need to know? What else are you looking for?
However, whatever you want to talk about, but I guess, however long, we don't really have a time limit. We're just kind of chatting about Badger State and just whatever people, just trying to give background. I guess the last thing here, any certain events that you look forward to each year that you try to hit, maybe that's on your list every year? I know it's, not now that you're not really sled or tech official, but.
Yeah, Elkhorn, for personal reasons.
Yeah.
Obviously, and but anytime you can go to, anytime you can walk into a Badger State pull, you know you're going to have a good time. But I think, tractor pulling is things have changed so much. Just like all the work you guys are doing with Facebook and promoting this. Jason was at the fair convention this year, and when the people came in and booked a pull. And he made such a big deal and pictures and
some of the people, live like we are. Now.
And some of the people were kind of taken. They were excited, but they were just surprised that, oh my goodness, this is, this is not that they said it, but this is just tractor pulling, and you're kind of going over the top. Well, no, you're not. And if you can get people hooked on, you ask what's your favorite pull, well, they all are. But if you in January or February or March or April, if you can get somebody hooked on an event, then they're going to go. They're going to go to that Badger State event instead of another event. And I think what you guys are doing is huge. I guess I got to take my hat off to Schultz because he convinced me in January that this Facebook thing is going to stick around. So I'm actually on Facebook now.
Yes.
And but I told him if this Facebook thing fizzles out, I'm going to kick his ass. I've got like 4 hours invested now in Facebook, and but no, I think when 5 years ago, if you wanted to know something about tractor pulling, you went to pulloff.com or something like that.
Sure.
Well, now if it's anything tractor pull related, you instantly go to one of these Facebook sites and you know it right now.
Yeah, that's that's really what I think we're just trying to do is if no matter where you are in the country, we'll try and hopefully maybe can help you out find a poll if you don't know if there's something going on. And like someone will just leave a comment and then someone will say, yeah, we got a poll coming up this weekend just down the road or something.
Yeah, or you just get the information. If it's a weekend that you just can't go, well, you can watch a lot of the videos right away on Facebook, and you'll get the news, you get the lowdown on what happened. And right now that's where people go to get their info, instantly. And I think that's good that Badger State is, kind of ahead of the curve on that deal. So
yeah, one of our admins does want to ask if you could pull any pulling tractor, which one would you pick?
Anyone?
Yeah, any pulling tractor. If you could drive, which one would you? Do you have one in mind?
Oh, yeah.
Which one?
Do I have to say what it be?
If you want to, I guess.
I guess if I could pick one out of the world and go sit on it and drive it, it'd be the Red Line Fever. Without hands down, it'd be Red Line Fever. Just because Esden's the coolest guy there is, and it's a legend. But the most dangerous place at a tractor pull that anyone can be is between me and the seat of the tractor. Once they tell me it's my turn to drive, So if anybody needs a designated driver, all you got to do is say. So.
Jeff wants to know what was your wildest ride on a sled.
On the sled?
Yes.
Well, one of them was one of his partners up there. It was in Gillette, and they have a short track. They have a track that's 260 feet.
Oh, jeez.
And I just lost his name. It was on the top of my head here. It'll come back. Tell Jeff. Who's the top international there?
Yeah, well, crap. It'll be a little bit delayed, but he'll probably comment here.
Yeah, and it was raining, and we probably should have
He
quit.
also said he wants to buy your tractor.
Yeah, whatever. Yeah, yeah. Chad Eilenfeld took me for a ride up there one night, and it was one of those deals where the track was a little slick, and I hope Lutke ain't listening because we probably should have quit 20 minutes sooner. And and me and Chad kind of worked together. We got everything stopped without running in anything, but it was slick, and I was afraid if I hit the panic button on the sled, we'd both go into the guardrail, and it was a few minutes of excitement, no doubt. One of the best was at Utica, the Utica Fest Badger State Pull.
Oh, sure.
I had a switch malfunction, so the pan didn't drop, and Mark Colburn was pulling the Mini, his propane,
Yep.
and we buried it 100 feet into the cornfield. And at the last second, you got to make the decision: do I shut him off? What do we do here? And it was the last hook of the day, and so I just shut him off, and we flew into that cornfield. The sled was probably 10 rows into the corn, and I'm sure there's people. I went to the beer tent immediately and bragged about that tractor, not knowing, that what happened. Yeah,
hey, when that tractor does hook up, it does do very well, but probably
yeah,
tent not that far into the cornfield.
Yeah, and I probably did 108 hooks that day, and the first 107 were flawless.
Sure.
And the only one anyone talked about was the one that we went into the cornfield. I guess there was, when you're running the sled, you're full alert, the whole time,
Yes.
from the time that, and I guess that's something that surprises me. You go on YouTube or Facebook and you'll see a sled malfunction, and the box never started moving, and they'll get 200 feet down the track before they'll do anything, and that's operator error.
Yep.
Absolute. That was something Lutke taught me from day one. You got to be on the ball right now, and if something is wrong, you've got everything there you need to. There's a panic button or whatever you want to call it that puts the brakes on and the lights on and the weight box brake comes on and all that. And you got to be ready all the time.
Especially with the horsepower that these vehicles are making, and
right. And the pullers, the competitors, they have to have that. They got to have that safe feeling, knowing that the guy in the sled is there to cover them if something does go wrong. And I think most of the pullers respected me enough to know that if something went wrong, I was there to cover it. And I guess I never really had a point on the sled where I was afraid that that something had really gone wrong. I think the worst that we did was one night up there in Gillette pulling semis till 2 a.m. We were screwing around, and God, I hope Luke ain't listening now, because we broke the axle on the sled that night. Track was 260 feet long. Well, we decided we were going to pull them 300 feet out in the parking lot, and that's how we broke the axle. So then in the morning you got to fix the axle.
Yep.
But Jim taught me a lot about having fun. Tractor pulling's about having fun, and he taught me how to help the event and help the promoter and help the pullers and make this a fun event. Have that sled working, and if the track is 310 feet long, we were going 315. Damn it, and I think I had a lot of respect from a lot of pullers, and I think I did a good job with the sled, and I also had a lot of fun. I really did. So.
Yeah, I think a lot of people forget that the amount of abuse really that the sled takes in a week, especially with the Badger State schedule, and of course Lukey does all those other organizations as well throughout the week. I think there's some weeks that he's probably at least 5 or 6 days that sled is a night where it's, and they I think kind of forget how many times the sled is going down the track every time. So
and the sled goes. You got 80 hooks, you got 80 pullers that night, and one tractor breaks. Nobody talks about it. But if the sled goes down there and breaks once, everybody talks about it. But you're right. There's weeks that sled will get 300-400 hooks on it, and a lot of them are, they're hard. It's hard work.
And then the amount of miles that he's going in between pulls too now as well.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm sure that's always been like that 'cause when they were going all over the country, really. And but even now, the distances that they're putting on a weekend with the Badger State schedule as well.
Right.
I mean,
that can make for some long weeks.
yes.
Yep.
And I'm supposed to ask quick. Allison said that I was supposed to bring up bus pulling.
Oh yeah, I guess the bus the bus pulling started in Searing, Wisconsin. We used to go up there and pull 2 nights, farm and hot farm equipment, and there's a huge hill that comes down into Searing, and so 2-3 o'clock in the morning, everybody's in a good mood, and we'd race these damn buses up that hill. Well, then I said, hey, how about we hook these buses to the sled tomorrow night? So we did, and and they're souped up buses, and so I get back to the shop with the sled on Sunday, and I told Jim we pulled school buses. He says, we're not going to pull school buses with my sled. Well, when he did get there and seen how much fun it was, then he was okay with it. But yeah, I think it was probably 2008. We pulled some school buses up in Searing, and now it's a big event. Now they've got a half a dozen of them. They got that 466 International motor in them, so they just go get the P pump and the turbo from whoever's got one off.
Sure.
And I mean, their drive shafts are welded up, and they got the big Texas block slid in the back for weight, and it's a way to get more people to come to more pulls, and give them something to talk about, and that's not something it's not a class we have in Badger State yet, but I'm sure if Jason works on Greg just a little bit, we can get bus pulling in Badger State.
Well, he did get him to come down to the Churn and Dirt a couple years ago, so he got like 2 or 3 of them up to make the trip all the way from Searing to Richland Center. So
the Shaw boys, the Shaw brothers up in Searing, they're world famous now for their bus pulling. So and they're a fun group of guys.
And Jeff says that anytime you want to drive, just let him know and pick a night. You can drive his vehicle. So
okay. But as long as Carl Kahn doesn't see me on a John Deere, then we'll be all right. So,
and I think Jeff Mailing says, how much for the tractor?
Yeah. Well, there'd be 3 commas in it. There's 3 commas in that price. So. No, and knowing Jeff Capanos and the work he's put into that tractor and the work he put into that organization and how they've grown, it's an honor for him to say he wants me to drive his tractor. Knowing what that tractor means to him and what tractor pulling means to him, for him to say, and he's mentioned it to me before. He wants me to drive it, and it's an honor for somebody to say that to me, that they want me to drive their tractor. There's a pro farm in central Wisconsin. Dave Schultz has got a case. And I drove that, I think, 5 times for him last year. He had fallen and broke his wrist, and he didn't have to ask me twice to get on it. So, but I mean, I love driving. I love driving pulling tractors. I really do. So.
Yeah. Well. Anything else you want to mention, Pat? Otherwise, we just want to thank you for taking time tonight and.
Well, thanks. Thanks for having me on, and thanks for everything you guys do for Badger State and for tractor pulling. I think you guys do a lot, and I hope this Monday night show thing works out. It'll probably be a lot more exciting during the pulling season, because then on Monday night you can have the winners on. So
yeah, that's and then of course we can recap the weekend, and of course with some of the weeks, we'll have 4 or 5 events to recap. So it'll be a lot of stuff. But we're I think this is part of pulling though that a lot of people don't get to see is those kind of inside stories between pullers and sled operators like yourself or tech officials, and stories that maybe they just never even knew before. So that's always something I think that polling can do a little bit better, is those inside stories as well, not just the polling part of it.
Yeah. If you want stories, if you want 3 weeks of stories, you just call Jim Lutke, and he can tell you. I don't think anybody's been to more polls in North America than Jim Lutke has.
No, I have to agree.
But yeah, you got to sit down and talk to Jim someday. He'll tell you stories.
Yeah, and if you see him at a poll, he'll talk to anyone. You just go up to him and.
Yep. So, but yeah, thanks for having me on, and thanks for all you do. And at some point this summer we'll cross paths and chat again.
Oh, I'm sure we will, and maybe we'll be on later on as well down the road as well.
Okay.
So, Again, thanks a lot. Have a great rest of your night, and we'll talk to you later.
You bet. Thank you.
That was Pat Hack, and with here with us on our Badger State Weekly Show. Sled operator, puller, as well as tech official with the Badger State Tractor Pullers, Lukey Eliminator, and of course their famous case with the Lonesome Loser there. And just a great guy, very well known here in Wisconsin on the Badger State circuit. So we want to thank you guys for tuning in and chatting along with us. Hope you enjoyed the show. We'll be back next week following Let's Grow Pulling. Jason Schultz will be back as well. We'll have as we inch closer to Motorsports Mayhem. That's coming up on May 13th here in Richland Center at the Richland County Fairgrounds. That will be an all-day event. We got truck and tractor pulling, demolition derby, the test and tune in the afternoon, ATV and grass drags, as well as a crafts fair, and as well as a swap meet. So a lot going on. HybridRedneck.com for all your information there. And of course, if you want to find out more about the Badger State Tractor Pullers, their upcoming schedule, that's bstponline.com, bstponline.com. And of course, check us out. Our first event coming up June 3rd. We'll have a kind of a starting out with the NFL style. We'll have a double booking to start out the season. We'll be down in Leaf River, Illinois, as well as Ettrick, Wisconsin, to start out the 2017 Badger State Tractor Pulling season. So I'm Ryan Zolik and Jason Schultz, Pat Hack. This has been with Badger State Tractor Pulling Weekly right here on the Badger State Tractor Pulling Facebook page. Have a great rest of your evening, and we'll talk to you again next Monday night.